You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts now.
All right, Black and White Sports supporters. Well, it's pretty clear Joe Flacco has now called his shot, and he wants to remain with the Cleveland Browns. Now, it should be noted, he's also been very vocal about wanting to be a starting quarterback in the 2024 season. Well, that's going to cause some interesting issues in Cleveland. Of course, Deshaun Watson's coming off of a shoulder surgery, and I think one of the things that a lot of people aren't talking about here is what happens when you bring back now Cleveland hero Joe Flacco, and he's sitting on the bench behind Deshaun Watson. The moment that Deshaun Watson throws 2 interceptions in a game, they are going to be chanting for Flacco. We saw Joe Flacco took over that city of Cleveland last year. I think they kind of viewed Joe Flacco as sort of a blue-collar guy. They gravitated towards that. He doesn't have all the other baggage that Deshaun Watson has. I've done videos on polls coming from Cleveland Browns fans about how much they don't want Deshaun Watson as their quarterback. They still miss Baker Mayfield in Cleveland. They do. Let's get to this. This is going to get very interesting, but Joe Flacco has officially put Deshaun Watson on notice. And I believe this is going to carry a lot of weight, a lot of pressure on Deshaun Watson. Perform, or Joe Flacco will be in the game. If Joe Flacco returns to the Browns next season, an insider cautioned that it will escalate the pressure on Deshaun Watson, an aspect the team needs to consider carefully. After a strong stint with the Browns, Flacco is heading into free agency in hopes of finding a starting gig. If not, the Browns are at the top of his list when it comes to being a backup. The Browns are open to a reunion, but there's no doubt that having Flacco around will create some tension, especially if Watson struggles in his return from injury. Well, look, you've got a time clock ticking now, right? And a big one. And a lot of money tied up in Deshaun Watson. And I've said, this contract, and if you're Kevin Stefanski, you're in a hell of a spot. All right? You already had to fire at Jimmy Haslam's request what is a very well-respected offensive coordinator in Alex Van Pelt and his staff that was also very respected. All right, it came out not too long after the Patriots inked Alex Van Pelt that the Browns coaching staff, a.k.a. Stefanski, did not want to let Alex Van Pelt go, and that was not well received. Well, Kevin Stefanski, your job is next. Your job is next because Jimmy Haslam wants to make this Watson thing work, because if he doesn't, he looks like a clown. Now, I contend he already looks like a clown because you gave this guy a contract that leaves you with a $63 million dead cap hit. I had to do my math. That is so ridiculous to even say out loud. $63 million dead cap hit. This is the year, this is a quote, this is the year that Deshaun Watson, if he is ever going to justify that deal, it's this year, Mike Florio, PFT, said Thursday, March 7th. It helps to have somebody who can play like Joe Flacco did. Does it help Deshaun Watson, though, to have Joe Flacco around, especially if he struggles at any point in the season? They don't need Browns fans chanting Flacco, Flacco, Flacco anytime Deshaun Watson throws an incomplete pass. Oh, it's going to blow up. Now, I contend it will be one of the major stories to watch next year. If Joe Flacco comes back, oh, man. Joe Flacco recently turned 39 despite his strong performance last season. Florio is not sure the market will be there for Flacco in free agency. You know, I think the Patriots are going to be interested, but I think they're ultimately going to bring back Jacoby Brissett because Jacoby is not only familiar with Alex Van Pelt, but he's got that connection because that's where he came from with the Patriots originally. I just think that makes so much sense. You know, for them to, and he can teach any rookie that they draft about that system and help them learn it, right? And, frankly, at times, Jacoby Brissett looks like a top 15 quarterback every now and then. We don't know if he can do that long term. He's always had things like injuries get in the way. Quote, the best thing he can hope for is being a short-term Band-Aid while a team figures out who they will draft in the first round, Florio said. Most of these other teams that need quarterbacks want to go young. If 28 is too old for these teams, 39 is too old for these teams as well. Well, something to consider. You know, Aaron Rodgers just came out and said he may play up to 4 more years. If you're Joe Flacco and you've got an arm that's every bit as strong as Aaron Rodgers, maybe better from a pure cannon standpoint, and I'm talking about sniper rifle, we've talked about that, and Flacco's got a top 5 arm still in the NFL. Why are you not thinking I can play 3 to 4 more years? You're a Super Bowl MVP. Maybe somehow, some way you win another one. And then Joe Flacco's getting fitted for a jacket, especially considered what this story would be in Cleveland. Flacco has earned the right to return to the Browns. He recorded a 4-1 record, passed for over 300 yards in 4 straight games, and tossed 13 touchdown passes. And Flacco has openly gushed about his time in Cleveland. Quote, I can tell you, all things equal, Cleveland is certainly the place I would feel best about. Flacco said in an interview on Sirius XM Wednesday, March 6th. Then you have to get into the world of, is somebody actually going to give me a chance to play? All the different things that go into that. But I can't help but have a special feeling about Cleveland just because of the few weeks I spent there and how great the city was. This is going to get interesting. And listen, at the end of the day, I don't necessarily want that to be a huge part of it or all of the decision, but I do think it will factor into the decision if I end up having to have a decision to make. Andrew Berry, the Browns GM, publicly backed the idea of Flacco returning to be a veteran backup. He also says he's given zero consideration to how it could cause tension in the locker room. However, Florio believes the Browns' plans internally might be a little bit different. If you get the truth from people who run the show, they'd probably like to just say thanks for the memories and move on. If I'm Andrew Berry, I'm probably hoping someone comes along and offers him something we can't. It's going to be a huge, huge deal for Deshaun Watson to go out there and prove that he's worth that contract. All right? I mean, that's going to get very, very interesting. He passed for 2,217 yards, 14 TDs, 9 interceptions with the Browns. And this is the thing. He's played in just over 12 games over 2 seasons because of suspension and injury. So that's going to be one of the bigger stories. If Joe Flacco goes back to Cleveland, Deshaun Watson's on notice. Because if you're Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry, I mean, what are you going to do exactly? I think this is a make or break year, even as good as Stefanski was. Obviously, Jimmy Haslam, he, in part, supposedly, fired Alex Van Pelt because of Deshaun Watson's performance. Well, who do you think's going to be next? Kevin Stefanski. Even though there's no way in hell they should even consider, in light of what he did last year, to fire that coach. I mean, no way. No way. I think it's going to be interesting. I don't know how in the world, if Haslam wants Watson to succeed, how do you bring back Flacco? If you're Stefanski, I want Flacco there, because if you start out 0-3 and Watson's a disaster, well, you're calling out old Graybeard out of the bullpen to go out there and throw another 20, 25 touchdowns the rest of the season and keep you employed and make the playoffs. Man, this could get so interesting in Cleveland going forward. It really could. And I think if you gave Joe Flacco true serum, I believe Joe Flacco would tell you he can beat out Deshaun Watson for that job, or take it away from him. And I think in the back of his mind, he wants to start, and he knows that's a thing. I don't know. Tell me what you think. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.